How many of you have ever taken a photograph of your artwork and ended up with something that looks like this? It's actually pretty common to make these kinds of mistakes. This tutorial is going to show you how to take a good photograph of your artwork to avoid these kinds of problems. First, let's identify the problems that we have here. For one, we have glare from the flash that we used on the camera. Another, we have light fall off, such that the outer corners of this image are really dark and hard to see. And then we also have distortion, that the image is not in correct perspective, and we're seeing it smaller at the top and wider at the bottom, and it's rather crooked, and that also leaves a lot of empty white black space surrounding the outer edges, so it's not a very good photograph. How do we take a better photograph? Well, you don't have to be an expert photographer to follow these simple steps to get a better image. Let me just first show you what you're aiming for. This is how you would definitely want to take a photograph of your image, because notice how the light is nice and even, there's no distortion, there's no light fall off, there's no camera glare. We can see all the lines and edges clearly. It's a good clean image, and the image is perfectly upright without any kind of distortion. So how do we arrive at this? Well, first let's see what went wrong in the first instance. The way in which you get an image that looks like this is by photographing your drawing like this. And so notice that the artwork is flat on a table, and the camera is aimed in this direction, and the flash is being used. That's what leads to your problems. So the first thing you want to do is get the artwork upright. So you want to put it onto a wall, or maybe prop it up on an easel or on a chair, somewhere where you can have it so that it is perpendicular to your line of sight, and so that it is basically parallel to the camera body. That way you won't get that kind of distortion in the image. The other thing you want to do is you do not want to use the camera flash. Instead, what you want to use are two light sources shining on the drawing from opposite directions. Let me show you more closely what that looks like from an overhead view. So an overhead view of this setup is when you have the artwork here on the wall, and you have a light coming in from the left-hand side and another light coming in from the right-hand side. What that's going to do is going to give you nice even lighting across the image. And then you have the camera right here. And just remember, do not use the camera flash. Now, if you're wondering how in the world you're going to figure out how to set up two lights in your house, and you can't quite figure out how this method would work for you, there's an even easier method that you can use. You can head outside. Now, there are two kinds of light outside that work best. One is light on a cloudy day when it's overcast and the light is dispersed and there's no full sun. The other would be, let's say it's a sunny day. What you can do is on a sunny day, go to an area that's shaded. So maybe underneath the overhanging roof of a house, or maybe on one side of a building that's in shadow. Any place where there's good even shadow and you're out of direct sunlight is going to be a good place to photograph your work outdoors. Now when you photograph outdoors, again, you do not want to use the flash, and you're going to get good even lighting simply because there's a lot of light outside. Again, remember to put your piece upright so that it's perpendicular to your line of sight and parallel to the body of the camera so that you don't get distortion. And basically, following these simple steps is going to give you much better image quality in your photographs. In part 2 of this, I'm going to show you what to do once you take your digital photograph and bring it into Photoshop, what you can do to optimize it for web presentation.